The red light is on, everyone.
Good, Billy.
Okay. The October 28th, 2025 School Board Special Meeting and Workshop is called to order. Ms. Tresky, please call the roll. Mr. Cherry.
Here.
Mr. Cherry. Mr. Link.
Here.
Dr. Jamison.
Here.
Ms. Quintana.
Here.
Ms. Trigg. Mrs. Watkins.
Here.
Mrs. Apel. Here.
Nice.
Since two of me are here, do I get to go home now?
This just is bad
And
as church.
it is definitely the week of
It
Halloween.
most certainly is. It is.
Ah,
Everywhere.
all right. And thank you to everyone for your patience. We understand we are a couple minutes tardy this evening. So we are going to next to the approval of the agenda. The agenda reflects a revision made after the original posting specifically to update the language regarding the purpose of the closed session. Can you hear me? This amended agenda, there we go. Hold on, technical difficulties. Yep, we'll wait a moment. The full moon also. That's fine.
This room is 200.
Hot mics.
Are we,
I
we're
think.
just having a bit of AV difficulty right now?
Yes, we're.
That to me, I went to Richmond. I know, but he's 2 months old.
Thank you, everyone who's tuning in online for your patience.
Randy has a really good, like, old TV voice.
You're muted.
Oh.
Okay, we're muted. So how do you get a one-armed
that a good
monkey
test?
to fall out of a
Testing?
tree?
Testing 1, 2, 3,
You wave.
then back to 1. You guys,
You make Lily laugh. I'll give you props for that.
I'm gonna tell you my favorite joke when I was 4 years old.
What's that?
Oh, no.
My mom said that my sister and I would take turns telling this to each other and just roll on the floor. We're good?
Are we good?
Oh,
Okay.
we're good?
All right.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So we are on the approval of the agenda. The agenda reflects a revision made after the original posting specifically to update the language regarding the purpose of the closed session. This amended agenda will be considered for adoption. Is there a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Quintana and seconded by Dr. Jameson. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I move to amend the amended agenda to authorize the school board chair and superintendent to sign a grant agreement for the Math Acceleration Grant Part 2 for $70,101.20. I think this just happened. Is that correct?
Yes.
Second.
Oh, so the amendment to the amended agenda was made by Ms. Watkins, seconded by Dr. Jameson. Is there any discussion for the amendment to the amended agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor of the amendment to the amended agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The amendment has passed. So now for the newly amended agenda, is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the amended agenda as it now reads, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is amended to reflect the closed meeting and also the authority to sign for this grant application. Thank you. So, Dr. White, without any further ado,
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the school board, and student representatives. This evening, we're bringing forward several items for your information and consideration, including approval of the Math Acceleration Grant proposal, as well as the approval of the requested funding reappropriation for capital needs, a budget update, and the quarterly update from our Constituent Services and Government Relations Office. Now, before we move into those items, I'd like to begin with a few highlights. Our Human Resources team will be holding Walk-Up Wednesdays from 1 to 3 p.m. throughout the rest of the school year to meet directly with potential candidates in an accessible way. These events will be held at our Community Empowerment Center, and you can visit our website or social media pages to learn more. And I'd like to thank our Assistant Director of Recruitment and Organizational Effectiveness, Morgan Struther, for leading this initiative and building on the success of our summer Walk-Up Wednesdays. And our first event is tomorrow, and we hope to see you there. If you're a potential candidate, come on out for our Walk-Up Wednesdays. Also, last week, we celebrated National School Bus Safety Week by recognizing our incredible transportation staff. Now, and our bus drivers in partnership with Zoom. Now, thank you to our Chief Operations Officer, Chris Perkins, for representing our CPS at this event. In addition to celebrating our incredible transportation team, Zoom also held a safety demonstration with our media partners so that they could see firsthand how we are keeping our students safe. And I want to sincerely thank our drivers and our transportation staff for the critical role that they play in keeping our students safe every day to and from school. And finally, we recently held the first meeting of the school year for my Superintendent Student Advisory Council. Thanks to John for being there. And this council includes students from our middle and high schools and from our programs as well, our program schools. And their voices are essential in shaping our work. There are many, many items and topics and things that we have done, actions, initiatives that we have done based on the feedback from our students that they have given me directly that I have then brought to you. So I'm so appreciative of our students and hearing their voices. And I'm just grateful for their honesty, for their ideas and their commitment to making our schools stronger. And we have already heard some great feedback from them. So at this time, I'll ask Dr. Cindy Williams to come forward to present the Math Acceleration Grant proposal, just to give you a bit of an overview of that and ask for your approval of that item at this time.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, school board members, superintendent, and our student representative. Tonight, we would like to bring forth a math acceleration grant for your consideration and approval. This grant was posted by the Virginia Department of Education on October 16th and has a quick turnaround time for October 30th. So the grant application focuses on 3 areas. One is paying for teachers' praxis so that they can get add-on endorsements to teach accelerated math at the middle school area. Also, professional learning for our middle school teachers. And the third area is a 6th grade summer bridge program to help our 5th graders as they transition into 6th grade math. The grant application is for $70,101.20. And tonight, we ask for your approval.
Thank you. So are there any questions for Dr. Williams? Questions? Okay. So is there a motion to authorize the school board chair and superintendent to sign the grant agreement for the Math Acceleration Grant Part 2 for $70,101.20?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Cherry, seconded by Mrs. Watkins. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. And the motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Next, we have the approval. So first, again, I'll ask our Chief Financial Officer, Kathleen Jackson, to share information regarding a requested reappropriation of funds for high school trailers and/or learning cottages, as we call them, to provide short-term support for our high school overcrowding while we explore longer-term solutions. So this request, if approved, will be forwarded to City Council for consideration. So, Mrs. Jackson.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, Chair, Mrs. Apel, Vice Chair, Mr. Cherry, members of the board, and Dr. White. As Dr. White said, this is a request for forwarding to City Council to reappropriate funds that currently reside in the school division's capital project fund. As you may recall, we had a reappropriation of about $17.8 million out of that fund back in May for projects that had already been approved by the school board in our capital improvement plan. So that left about $8.3 million, as you see here, unappropriated in that fund. So what we are asking is that the City Council consider reappropriating those funds to the school division for this specific purpose so that we can move forward with implementing those learning cottages on the campuses of both high schools.
Wonderful. So does the board have any comments or questions for Ms. Jackson at this time? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion and a second to approve the reappropriation request for forwarding to City Council?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Link, seconded by Ms. Quintana. Is there any discussion?
Just wanted to, for the community's sake, to know that there was a lot of discussion leading up to this vote, which is why we're moving forward with the vote today. I didn't want the community to just think we're just voting and didn't do the research or didn't have the discussion, but there's been a lot of discussion. So wanted to throw that out there for the community.
Mr. Chair, if I could also just add, I think that's important to note that this is not in place of the ongoing consideration of a permanent solution.
Correct.
This is an interim.
Bridge.
And as was discussed at our October 14th meeting, there is also a timeline that is looming in order to make sure that should this reappropriation request be approved by City Council, to make sure that the doors are open so that these learning cottages are online for use in the fall of 2026. And we are perilously close to that being a reality or not, hence it being on the agenda at this time. So any further discussion from the board? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. And the motion carries. The request for the reappropriation is approved. Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Jackson, right back to you. She'll also provide a budget update to give you an overview of our current financial position and highlight key areas as we move further into planning for the next fiscal year. So Mrs. Jackson, right back to you.
Thank you again. So this time of year, we always like to bring you a brief update. So we're sort of looking at 3 years that are active right now. So I will start with our current year that we are about a fourth of the way through. And I know one of the things that we like to pay close attention to is our salary scales, and that's a chief piece of our budget is compensation. So I know we work hard to keep our compensation as competitive as possible. So just starting here with a reminder of what we've done the last few years. Of course, we were very fortunate and proud to be able to make some significant moves in the 22-23 budget to get our teacher and other position pay on our classified scale as well up quite a bit, and moved our minimum wage to $15 an hour that year and all of that. So as you can see, obviously we were not able to maintain quite that momentum in the subsequent years, but we're able to do a 5% raise in 23-24, and then the last 2 years, unfortunately, we weren't able to do more than the 6% over both years of the biennium that the state partially helped us fund. So that's where we are. And so we looked at, as we like to do, kind of what did that result in now that the year has started and our salary scales are set as are some of our neighbors and other comparable school divisions like us across the state. So what you see here is our neighboring divisions, how our just basic bachelor level teacher pay scale compares to those neighbors. And the kind of thicker blue line is Roanoke City. So you can see that by and large, we are still at the top up there. So that's favorable, though the distance is narrowing and a little hard to see, but one or two school divisions are pretty much right there with us at this point. So that is something for us to pay attention to. Also, we like to look at some divisions that maybe aren't necessarily in our region, but are perhaps more similar to Roanoke City schools, more urban divisions, larger school divisions, that sort of thing. So here you see a comparison that we typically look at of some other school divisions in Virginia that are more urban areas. On the left is the comparison of scales, and then on the right, we looked at the cost of living differences, because there are some differences in some of those areas, like the city of Richmond or the Virginia Beach, Newport News area. So as you can see, we're a little bit more middle of the pack, particularly when you adjust for cost of living, but certainly quite a bit lower than some of those other school divisions that are comparable urban areas. So that's something we will keep looking at and hope that we can at least hold steady, if not improve, as we go forward. So just a brief update on closing the prior fiscal year. So we're still working on our audit process for the 24-25 fiscal year. As I know you're aware, there are some changes in the city's policy on school funds and the ability to retain fund balance at year end. So we are still working through what that looks like and what actions we need to take, and in fact have a meeting tomorrow to talk through some specifics of what is expected, meeting with finance folks on the city side as well as our auditors to make sure that we have clarity on that. So we are working hard to get that completed. I will share that I did let our audit committee and the superintendent know yesterday that just given these changes and the uncertainties, as well as one on the federal level that I'll mention, we will not be able to meet our typical October 31st deadline of completing the audit. That's usually what we aim for, so that we can have that to the audit committee the first week of November and then to you at your meeting in November. But we will have to push that back. I hope not more than a few weeks, and maybe we can bring that to you at the December meeting. But we have these questions, and of course the auditor can't do their final review of our financials until we get these questions answered and all of this figured out. So that just can't happen in 2 or 3 days. So that is one piece. Also, there is guidance that is necessary for our, the audit of federal expenditure of funds that has not been released by the Office of Management and Budget yet. And of course, now with the government shutdown, we have even more uncertainty as to when that guidance is going to be made available. So our external audit firm can't complete that piece of the audit until that information is known. We have had that type of experience before. Some of you may recall when in 2020 audit, when ESSER funds first came about, pandemic relief funds, it took a while for the guidance about what to look at and how those funds were required to be audited to be made available. So in that year, we did complete our audited financial reports. We just pulled that section out, and that report was issued later independently. So that's something, again, we'll be talking with our auditors about what makes sense for that. So that may be something that we'll do again this year, just so that we can complete the bulk of the audit and then complete the federal portion once the guidance is available. So those are things we're working through. So just to keep you abreast of the timeline there. So then looking forward at next year's budget, amazingly, we're already started on that process. So just as a reminder on the expenditure side, in our current year, we did adopt a budget that projected to use over $10 million out of fund balance because of that change in local funding policy that came about in May. So that's one-time funding that won't be available again. So that certainly is one of the biggest factors that we have to pay attention to as we start looking at expenditures for the next year. So certainly if there are budget cuts at the federal, state, or local level that, or not even not enough of an increase, even not necessarily even a cut, we may have to be looking at some reductions on the expenditure side for next year. And of course, on the revenue side, we have proposals at the federal level that at least some of which do include some pretty significant cuts to funding that we rely quite a bit on, including Title I. So certainly remains to be seen whether that will come to fruition, but just to be aware that that's something that is of concern that we're paying close attention to. Also, I know there's concern at the state level of the impact of some of the, not just the federal government shutdown, but some of the layoffs and cuts and that sort of thing at the federal level certainly does have an impact on Virginia, perhaps more so than other states because of our proximity to the DC area. So that I know is something that is being paid close attention to at the state level and could impact state budget as well. And then of course, as we've mentioned, that the City Council is considering some further changes to how they fund schools. So that's something we will pay close attention to as well. And lastly, just to kind of let you know where we are in our budget development process. We have started that process with all of our budget managers, and our accounting team is already at work meeting with folks who have budget responsibility to talk through that process. And we will be working this year, of course, for several years. We've incorporated a portion of our budget process into aligning that with our strategic plan. And so this will be the first year where you'll see the new strategic plan, the updated version reflected in that budget. So that's part of our process that we're working on now. And then it's always around December 15th that we get a first look at the governor's proposal for the state budget. Typically, it's around that time that we get a first look at what local funding of schools will be as well, again, with the work of making some changes there. Not totally sure if that timeline will change, but we're still in those meetings to learn about that. And so we will come back to you beginning with our December school board meeting and pretty much every meeting thereafter to work on building that budget. So that's where we are with all of our 3 years that are in process in some capacity right now, but I'm happy to take any questions or comments you have.
All right. Ms. Watkins, any questions or comments?
None.
Thank you. Ms. Quintana?
I just have a quick question. and I don't know if you even have the answer, because I will guess some things are up in the air. You said that December 15 is when the governor's says, his proposed biennial budget. Can that date be affected because of the shutdown?
I don't know the answer for sure. I think probably not.
Okay.
Just because of the state. Now, what could certainly happen is the substance of that budget might change.
Okay.
Depending on what ultimately happens.
All right.
But that said, I think we would all expect that the substance of that budget might change anyway, because regardless, we're going to have a different governor in the governor's mansion come
Correct.
January. So that certainly, that is the state's timeline and process, that the sitting governor does take the first effort at putting that budget together, but then naturally, whoever ends up
They come and change it. Okay.
coming into office, I'm sure will put their stamp on it.
All right, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quintana. Mr. Link, any questions or comments for Ms. Jackson?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Dr. Jameson?
No questions. I know.
Vice Chair Cherry?
No questions, thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Jackson. We do appreciate how thorough you always are, and we do appreciate, the overall perspective, especially with respect to what we can expect federally and statewide and local, which are three things that we have continuously mentioned, that we have budget uncertainties at every level of revenue for going into our budget development process in December. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Now I'll ask Dr. Alan Siebert, our Constituent Services and Government Relations Officer, to share his quarterly update. And Dr. Siebert and I just got a budget update ourselves, and we were just at the BAS Superintendent's Conference in Richmond, and so they were giving some kind of updates to talk about the various proposals that are on the table, the President's proposal versus the House proposal and the Senate proposal, and all pretty much right, except for the Senate bipartisan proposal, the President's proposal and the House proposal are looking at cuts to public education. So, nothing is set in stone yet, but I do think that we need to keep that at the forefront of our discussions and anticipate that if those cuts are coming, then again, how might we operate accordingly? So I'll turn it over to you,
And
Dr. Seward.
indeed, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. White, to Dr. White's point, the other thing is that these uncertainties do impact the timelines, just as you just heard from a local perspective, because currently by now we have received, every 2 years the state has to re-benchmark what it costs to do public education, and that re-benchmarking report is usually out by now, and it's not. So that all these things are, the dominoes keep kind of sliding and slowing things down a little bit. But good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. Normally I blow through the first 3 slides about the office, but since we're live streaming tonight and we might have some different folks in the audience, I wanted to make sure we provide a good orientation on the work of the Constituent Services Office and how it all flows together. But as you are aware, but we just want to make sure people understand, the Constituent Services Office, under Dr. White's vision, was stood up in accordance with International Ombuds Association standards of practice, with an emphasis on confidentiality, impartiality, independence, and informality. And so that makes it a safe place for people to brainstorm. At any point in time, if they want to use a formal process that are available to them, they can do that. But it's an opportunity that has been used and has grown, and quarterly I bring you some data from that and share some trends. The other thing we did in setting up the office was we really wanted to organize and archive the RCPS approach to addressing problems and concerns. And the idea is we believe issues should be resolved close to the source. We should support our schools in solving problems. Our schools should support teachers, and that's how the process should work. And you'll see tonight that data bears out that most of the things that come to my office are division level things, which is a pretty good indicator that our schools are having the opportunity to take care of things. You have a board policy, KAA, and it is about the constituent services office having a community feedback system. That community feedback system, we'll talk about a little bit later on, a product called Ethics Point by a company called Navex, has been in place since 2021, and we're taking a look at that. But the idea is that the system gathers the data, tracks responsiveness, and gives us a chance to look at some trends. So we look at both data from the Ethics Point system as well as visits to my office. So really, what we're seeing now is that we've reached a point of kind of consistency between quarter 2 and quarter 3. The number of cases in the Ethics Point system only changed by 1. We have 8 in the third quarter versus 9 in the second quarter. And also visits to my office pretty consistent, even looking back a year. So I think the office was stood up. We worked out processes and procedures and communications, and things seem to be pretty solid. Now, the one thing you might notice for the cases is a range of solutions between 2 and 22 days. That illustrates that some cases are more complex than others. Some require multiple departments and lots of leadership and lots of review and thoughtfulness to be very diligent with that. But we always acknowledge them within 24 hours, and the average of 8 days was a little bit longer than usual for the average, but that's because it was a small number of cases and a couple of very complex ones. In terms of visits to my office, have primarily employees. Start of the school year usually features an increase in partner organizations because people who want to know who they connect with and how they can get along with and work with our school division. So that was a little bit bigger than usual. And in terms of visits, this last quarter had my first ever good old-fashioned snail mail. Usually report to you, first time in 4 years that I received something by mail. And so usually it is email and phone calls. I will say that through the workplace, I have been able to make good use of the CEC as a convenient location to meet with folks that I feel good about.
Nice.
So, yeah. So in terms of the community go one more. When you look at the feedback system, the cases, the 8 cases, again, traditionally very heavily anonymous, and so that people get that peace of mind. And this quarter was primarily employees. And in terms of actions taken, you see most of these lead to pretty thoughtful reviews by the administration, and we put the feedback in, and here's the findings, and here, if you have more questions, here's who you can contact. The problem still remains in the Ethics Point system that I don't know if the anonymous visitor ever comes back and reads any of it. There's no way to do that because it is wholly anonymous, which is one of the things we're excited about, maybe looking at a different system. In terms of visits to my office, I share the one by mail. In general, these are inquiries. People are just like, help me understand. I don't get this, and why do we do this way, and who do I talk to? And so able to generally provide answers to those questions. Some of those answers I know the answer to. Oftentimes I have to reach out to a member team and find out who best to work with. But a very high resolution rate. If you look at the trends, especially the bottom where you see the cases, that the Ethics Point system, again, averaging about 10 cases per quarter, pretty small N compared to the cost and complexity of the system, which leads to what comes next. So that leads us to where we're excited, and we briefed the Policy Governance Legislative Committee and been working closely, and I want to begin with a shout out to technology and HR and communications for working on this. So the Ethics Point system by Navex, budget item for a small number of cases. So what we've been looking at and learning about, and as recently as last night, Dr. White had a chance to hear from a superintendent in a division that uses Let's Talk, which is being rebranded as OnFlow, which is from a company called K-12 Insight. So there's lots of logos and names. But what OnFlow does is it provides a number of things. So we are in the final year of a 5-year agreement with Navex. And so it's a chance to look at those dollars that are serving just one department, and could we use those and then the other departments add some resources and get a bigger tool that provides more use. And really the nice thing we heard last night from the superintendent with experience with the tool is that they found it really empowered people to solve their own problems. And that is really at the heart of our approach of solving problems, is how to do that. The other thing it does is it cuts down on emails and inboxes and forwarding and reply alls, because it's a unified system where you can decide who gets it, who works on it, but it keeps tracking. So that's kind of what we're excited and we're looking at. So right now, we're looking at probably running the month of December both Ethics Point and OnFlow for my office and just run dual systems in the hopes of everything works well, and then January converting completely to OnFlow. That's the tentative timeline right now. Also, HR is working, communications, and we'll hopefully have things to share with other departments in the months ahead. So what is OnFlow? Formerly Let's Talk by K-12 Insight. It's this idea of this unified inbox. And so the issues come in, and again, it's by departments, so there'll be high level of confidentiality. So personnel things doing HR happens over here, things that come to my office over here. But there is an option for people to not put in any contact information and be wholly anonymous, or they can put in contact information and say, hide my information from the district. And what that allows to do is that when I send messages back, or anybody sends messages back, the OnFlow system will send it to that recipient. So they will actually get it in whatever is their mode of communication. So we hope people will use that tool so that they can remain anonymous but still get the feedback, but people can leave that information blank and be wholly anonymous. It just makes it harder to follow up. Lots of really cool tools and again, lots of work with the other offices. It uses critical alerts. So if somebody puts something in that's alarming, it uses some of the other systems that we have in place to alert the appropriate offices and personnel. Currently, Ethics Point is in English and Spanish. OnFlow, multiple languages. So we're going to dramatically increase the number of languages that we can support in that tool. We're not in a rush to use the generative AI-powered chatbot because Dr. White and Claire point out that we have a really high level of personal touch. And so we want to stick with that. Where we might pilot that in the beginning would just be on the employee-only side, where they could get some information from HR, where it could actually go out and search multiple policies and multiple regulations and summarize information. But that's going to be a much later thing as we go. But the automated workflows, again, is the piece that leads to the efficiencies. Rather than forward the email, does it have the attachments? Did I reply all that kind of stuff? This system helps knit that together so that the work is done, and then we get the macro level data out of it. So that's where we are with the migration, and we look forward to that. I'll pause there. You do have at your place your usual cardstock piece, which includes the observations from the chiefs on the back, and so you can take a look at that. Really, again, with only 8 cases and calls, not any like hot button trends, we did notice, the start of the school year, pretty acute discipline issues with primary age children. And that's led to really good reviews and engagement from the academics office and Dr. Mazur, and it was a topic of conversation at the last DLT. So the idea, this is what we see bubbling, and this is how people start working on it. So those are any questions on that report before I wrap up with government relations? Okay. And then my last slide, government relations. You all adopted your priorities. The GRIP cards came in. Sadly, they came in after Dr. White and I left for Richmond, but they're here tonight. And so we do have GRIP cards for you to have, and you have some offers. And we have oodles if you'd like to have some extras to take and give to friends and family and put in trick-or-treat buckets. But it is a very effective tool because this is the leave behind of what we're about. The QR code, people get the position papers, and then when we have something coming up, we use the position papers. We already have 5 of those posted, more in development based on things we learned as recently as this morning, and also what you all will learn at the VSBA conference coming up here in November. Chair Apel and Board Member Trigg serve on the city's legislative committee. That next legislative committee meeting will actually be on Monday, the 3rd, at 9 a.m. And so we look forward to continuing to pull together on that. Specifically, a couple of the things that we have great alignment with the city of their interest is, again, school construction funding and what can the Commonwealth help us with that. And also continue to make sure that our locality can choose how it wants to choose its board members. And so we have some strategies there. Chiefly a thank you letter from Chair and Mayor that we'll be giving to all the legislators that supported us last year.
Nice touch.
Any questions from the board for Dr. Siebert?
Thank you for your work.
Amazing
Yes.
report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert. And just as an update, again, more of an update that we got from the VAST conference, also from School Performance Office. The school performance data has not been finalized or released as of yet, so I just wanted to let the board and the public know that, so it still hasn't been released to school divisions by the Virginia Department of Education. So they are still in the process of correcting some errors. They're also in the process of still providing school divisions resources, because again, this is a new accountability system, and so they're still developing those resources, and that's still in progress. And we just got that update just as recent as yesterday. So as soon as we receive the finalized data, we'll certainly update the board, and we will update the public as well. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. White. All right, moving on to the work of the board and ongoing business. So I did want to note that the school board held our fall retreat in early October. We further discussed board member communication, which is part of the work of the board that we did discuss earlier on during this academic year. So additionally, we discussed challenges and how the school board can work well to see around corners and retain our cohesion. As Mr. Cherry said, and I am going to end up using it a lot, we want to keep the main thing, which, is focusing on our students, their education, and everything that facilitates that to the best of our ability. Now, we also discussed during the retreat some, board member visibility and improving our engagement with the community, especially within the context of challenges that may be arising or things that have to do with, say, when Preston Park, the new school, comes online, and again, ongoing budget discussions at the federal, state, and local levels. So we also came away from that retreat, I would say that everyone is committed to this work. And at future retreats, we have earmarked to look at part of our ongoing work of the board, looking at the importance of board members presenting and participating in various state and national conferences. So we'll be looking at that at the spring retreat. So further moving on with work of the board, we will look at our school board member development committee, and Ms. Watkins, I believe you have something for us to go through and discuss this evening.
I do. Well, we do. In our handbook, I like to refer to our handbook with the things that we decide to discuss in these board meetings. And this one might be a little touchy, but I'm gonna go ahead and read this out because I want our community to hear it, and I want it to resonate with our board, and I welcome comment following what I'm gonna read. Some principles of our board, just one. Our board is a policy-making body. So, as such, we stay above the line and do not take matters into our own hands. And it gives an example about parents expressing concern about a school employee. We do take concerns like this to the superintendent, the board clerk, or the board chair for action. We do not contact the school employee and directly express the parent concerns. I welcome discussion on this, you guys, points of view, reflection without exposing PII or PHI. But this is a very serious topic because there are several of us that are parents on the board and have been parents as we came on the board, maybe no longer, but when we think about how we interact with the community, how our staff sees us when we're entering the schools, when we're engaging outside of full time, if we see them in other places. We hold very special positions in this community, and as such, it can make people feel certain type of way. It can make them feel proud, it can make them feel intimidated, it can make them feel all kinds of things. And we have to make sure that we recognize how we're presenting and projecting when we're dealing with situations, even if it's something deeply personal. So I'll welcome anybody else's comment.
I wanted to make comment on that. This seat comes automatically with influence. And I think this is to what Ms. Watkins is saying is governance 101, don't abuse your influence. All right, so just be mindful that we are to be examples at all times, and this is the seat that we've been empowered to serve in, so there's higher expectation on us to serve on a different level. So thank you for that reminder. I think it was a powerful one.
The example that I could give you guys is when my kids were in school, we had a rezoning. And my son moved from, it was right before I was on the board, but he moved from one high school to the other based on our geographic area in the city. And, you know, of course, he was upset because, you know, natives of Roanoke have pride in the high schools that they go to. And if at the time I was on the board at that time, I could not, there would be no way that I could come up to the superintendent or use my influence to say, no, we cannot move, you know, the line for where my house is, right? So, anybody else?
I did want to say that when I joined this board, and I think this is a good discussion for us to have when we talk about our board also being different than many because we're not elected. Because when you are an elected board, then you naturally bring a certain initiative with why you're part of that board to that position. But we're not elected, and we do represent the entirety of the division. We are not broken up into neighborhoods that we represent or that we were elected to represent or appointed to represent. But when I joined this board, Mr. Cherry and myself were the only two that had students in the schools, and they were actually at the same school. So we represent, you know, we had firsthand knowledge with experience at one particular school, but now we are a board with 5 out of 7 members with students in the schools. And something that I have learned is we have influence even when it's unintended. So to walk carefully with that, because sometimes we have our parent hat on, but other people can't separate that board hat. But, you know, I do think something that is valuable while we have Dr. Jameson still here, and Ms. Watkins, this is why why they are our board development committee, is there will be times where you aren't sure which hat should take the lead, whether it's as a whether it's in your job and being a board member, or as a parent and a board member, or a community advocate and a board member. And so I do encourage you to lean on our, you know, more veteran members when you do have a question, because I know I've had questions where, well, if I were just a regular parent, I would do X, Y, or Z, but I know that I'm not, so should I still do that? Or, and also people will also tend to find you when they see you, they may be like, oh, and while you're here, I had a question about, or I had a comment about this particular issue, because they see us as a direct line to, say, potentially change or keeping things the same in the division. So I didn't know if anyone else wanted to talk about any of that, or your experiences, or how you've dealt with that over the years. Although I know we have a lot of members with less experience in that so far.
I say we're the newbies. My experience, it has been great, but I'm also, I guess I was very naive, and I did not see the power and the political in the position. I met with all of y'all before I started, and I was truly like, oh no, we're gonna, you know. But in hindsight, I guess everybody comes with that, you know, like, oh, this is what I'm doing. You guys rock it. You guys were like, yeah, everybody comes in like that, but we go out and I also believe it has a lot to do with seeing other members, how they are, and I try to be extremely humble with it. Extremely humble with it. So,
I think the only thing I would add, and I would just say this because it's tied into what I think we said the last time we had this moment, this kind of board development moment, and it's this. What is important are all the things that are on the table, but even when we are by ourselves going on about our business, we are always of a body.
100%.
We do not speak for ourselves, we speak from the position of the board. So when we make comments in public, we are suddenly creating a board position. And although I know all of you personally, you're all wonderful human beings, we all walk about the community trying to do our best, and oh my gosh, just treat me normally. I don't know how many people, how many times I've said, could you please stop calling me Dr. Jamison? It's never going to happen. And when we speak as the board, under all circumstances, even when you're standing next to your child. I think that's what I would just say, perhaps to wrap it.
Good summary. Yep.
I just want to go to Kroger and not get pulled to the side.
Good
I'm
luck,
just saying.
sister.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's the only thing I want.
I wasn't trying to cut you off.
Well,
That goes for our student reps as well. You're representing the board at school and in your personal lives as you grow up and you have challenging decisions to make. The same. Your image is important forever. So watch social media and all that stuff, okay? In my mom voice.
well, thank you all for that. And thank you to all the board members for the work that you do on behalf of every student and every teacher and staff member in our CPS. Okay, so moving on to future business. I did want to note that as far as future business goes, there's homework from the retreat. It is due in the future, which is Friday. So make sure you check your email, okay?
Oh, okay.
I did mine today
What a
so
shameless
that I could just
Survey,
knock it
guys.
out.
It's a survey, don't freak out.
Nice
Yes.
Oh, okay, let me put it in.
But there is something to do. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Good thing I mentioned it tonight. Okay, so Halloween deadline. All right. Then moving on to announcements and reminders. We have several reminders listed for upcoming events. First of note, in case you didn't see it, our event for tomorrow, that is canceled due to weather. So please note that. But then we have some meetings upcoming, a closed meeting and a board meeting in November. But then November 18th, our Teacher of the Year celebration, that event, it has been moved location. So the location has moved. Day and time is the same. So make sure you note that. I will not be here again. But make sure you have that noted. And then we have the VSBA Fall Convention. I know we have a strong contingent going as we normally do. And then the Take Your Legislator to School event is right before Thanksgiving break at the William Fleming High School Library. That is a wonderful event where, again, Dr. Sieber gets to talk about some of our legislative priorities, and we get to, share our division with some of our local legislators and such. And then other points of note, Breakfast with Santa, it's on the calendar. So I was able to go to that for the first time last year, looking forward to it again. Yes. All right. And moving on to our closed session. So we do have a closed meeting tonight. Do we have a motion for the closed meeting?
Yes.
Apparently two of them.
That's you. It's you.
Okay. I move that the school board convene a closed meeting for the following purposes. Number one, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body pursuant to section 2.2-3711 AC Code of Virginia, And two, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to section 2.2-3711A8 Code of Virginia.
Is there a second for the closed meeting?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Cherry and seconded by Dr. Jamison. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Tresky, please call the roll.
Mr. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Link,
Yes.
Dr. Jamison,
Yes.
Ms. Quintana,
Yes.
Mrs. Watkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Apel.
Yes. The board will now enter into closed session to discuss only items within the approved motion. No other board business or decisions will be conducted during this session.
All right. Yes.